I went to a meeting at Xavier about 3 weeks ago and ran into a man who I had seen on the internet, heavy man, who's 4-year-old, had been in the waters of the Gulf, and who is now suffering and in the hospital. And when I saw him on the video, I cried. And at Xavier, when I just saw him in person, I recognized him immediately, and it was impossible not to cry in the middle of all these people just upon seeing him there. That's how this is affecting me when I see these people. These are the people that my family belongs to. I'm from South Louisiana. We've been here since 1720. And the Gulf and the people of the Gulf mean a great deal to me. And it is frustrating to go around town and some people don't even know anything's happening. So I'm the guy that rains on their parade. And I'm not the only one there. There's several here who rain on the parades. And I don't know what else to do. It's either that or move. Now, Dr. Robichaud agreed to come, and yesterday, or no, not yesterday, it was several days ago, I got a call from someone that I had already seen on the internet. In fact, I had downloaded one of his videos. It seems, and I will let him tell you, it is a branch of BP, isn't it?
Yeah, they have a contract with Enbridge, which the oil spill in Michigan was Enbridge.
So there is an oil spill in Michigan, and it's a pipeline, right?
Yes, sir. Like
the pipeline that Barack Obama could stop between Alberta and Texas. He had connection by internet, so he could show you more recent videos. But I fortunately had this one on my computer, so he's going to show my recorded video to you instead and explain what's happening in Michigan. What's happening in Michigan can happen all up and down the U.S. the same way. You know, 2 weeks ago, people began gathering in front of the White House to demand of Obama that he stop it because he can't. I was so proud last week to find that my son-in-law was one of the first arrested. And I never thought I would be proud that my son-in-law was arrested. And I encouraged him to put it on his resume. He said he thought in his line of work it would actually be a recommendation. But he was arrested demanding that this pipeline of the U.S. be stopped. And I believe you are going to Nebraska.
Yes.
When you leave here. So I'm not going to say any more. I'm going to ask, I have to, Bolenbaugh. John is very easy. But this is John Bolenbaugh, who said he would like to speak to us since he found we were meeting anyway. And Dr. Robichaud has given some of his time to John. So John, it is now for you.
I'm from Michigan. I never expected to be doing any of this. What happened was I was a worker, and in my hometown there was an oil spill. 1 million gallons of Santar oil. And Santar oil is about 82% more toxic than the oil that you had here. And the chemicals that go through it to thin it out, to get it to flow through the pipe, is about 20 times worse than that. So there's a mandatory 1,000-foot evacuation anytime there's a leak. Well, the company never told nobody about an evacuation. They lied and said it was normal oil. The oil is super toxic. I mean, it's really bad. We all know that. But you guys had the Correxic that made it 100 times worse. And we have the type of oil with the chemicals in it that made it so much worse. So I'm working, and I think I'm doing a great thing cleaning up an oil spill. There was an accident, and I didn't realize it could have been prevented. We learned later on that they knew the pipe was bad years in advance, and they were told not to.
I've seen Jamie twice in the office before we recognized that it was an oil spill related problem, and I just treated her for bronchitis or whatever else she came there for. But I, like everybody else, did not recognize a particular syndrome. It wasn't until Mary Lee sent me several people at once that And I started looking for these different things and started recognizing some of the symptoms that they were having that were quite unique to this particular problem. So this is where these two materials, about $12,000 worth of boots, respirators, gloves, Tyvek suits, and so forth, and distributed them. People on the boats were told immediately, anyone caught wearing a respirator was fired, and any boat that was caught having respirators on board was fired. That same policy, by the way, held forth for people working at the site for the major companies, okay? There were no respirators worn. I have not talked to a single person who worked the site at any time. I'm talking about the fire site, blow-up site, that wore respirators. I want to give you a little history lesson that I learned quite a few years ago. In 1976, Congress gave the Environmental Protection Agency the mandate to handle handling, transportation, and storage of hazardous materials. They were going to be responsible for managing these materials and making sure that they were done safely. The oil and gas industry, as you might imagine, with Ralph Binston as their leader, as I recall, decided that they didn't want to do this, and they got an exemption promising to have a study done. In 1987, during the Reagan administration, the study was performed, and there was a 3-volume report to Congress, which you're not going to find, by the way, anywhere, because I've been looking for it for a while. There was a 3-volume report submitted to Congress that said that this stuff was safe and could be spread on your bread like jelly and so forth in the morning. And they created a new classification of waste called NOW, non-hazardous oil field waste. And basically what they said was anything that was a result of exploration and production of petroleum products was non-hazardous by definition. It's NOW. Non-hazardous by definition, non-hazardous oil field waste. The EPA was stuck with this because that was a lie, okay? And this material was hazardous, and I'll get to that in a moment and show you the person that actually did the study. Hopefully I'll be able to pull it up and have her tell you about this person. But anyway, so they created this booklet, which I had years ago when I was working on this, because my interest was they were taking these materials and they were dumping it into a residential community in my senatorial district when I was in the state senate, in a place called Bolenbaugh. And they had what they call land farming of hazardous oil field waste. So they took all this hazardous material, put it in these open pits, and then treated it with bacteria, and they agitated it and irritated it, and had everybody in the neighborhood and everybody that passed on the highway. It was really funny, because everybody that ever drove past that place came out saying, wow, what's going on? What is this material? And people that lived in the area turned their air conditioners off, or either turned the air conditioner on that it would circulate just in the car. You can do that, by the way, as opposed to circulating outside air. But it was really a noxious material. Anyway, the EPA had to come up with a booklet saying, even though we say this is hazardous, is non-hazardous, this could be extremely hazardous material. And you can pick that up on the internet also, by the way. It's easy enough to find on their site. Back in 1997, CBS came out. Ed Bradley loved to visit New Orleans, and I think he found this a great reason to come down and spend some time over here. And they spent a tremendous amount of money and came in the community and put out a story called Town Under Siege. It was 60 minutes of 60 Minutes, okay? And if you look at the date on there, they produced this thing and they put off presenting it and put it off and put it off and put it off. And then 2 days before Christmas, probably the lowest viewing audience day of the year, they presented it, and it's never been on again. Anything interesting like this would normally be repeated over and over again. It's never been seen since.
In oil fields like this one, America's petroleum companies are not only producing oil, they're producing waste, poisonous waste. In every other industry, federal law would require that waste to be tracked, labeled, and handled as hazardous material. But not the oil industry. Years ago, their lobbyists got a special deal from Congress which lets them pump toxic waste out of a well, label it non-hazardous, and dump it near cities and towns without warning a soul. That's what the oil industry has done legally ever since. When this law was passed, hardly anyone noticed, not CBS News, not the nation's leading newspapers, and certainly not the residents of a little bayou town 70 miles southwest of New Orleans. And with all her predecessors at the EPA about this law, she challenged Congress to change it.
Congress should revisit this loophole. There's no other thing like this in federal law. The people have got a sweetheart do. And the effect is that the people who live in these facilities don't even know what is being placed in their community. Benzene, toluene, arsenic lead, what the scientific health studies tell us about these sorts of waste is that they can result in reproductive problems, birth defects, cancer, lead poisoning, which can lead to loss of IQ points, serious health problems.
That waste are not handled properly. That pose hazards to the public.
You don't have to know what's in this waste. All you have to do is say, this waste came out of the ground when I sunk an oil well. And whatever comes out of the ground, you don't have to test it, you don't have to understand what's in it, you can dump it anywhere. That's how broad the loophole is. There's nothing like it in any environmental
Yourself that let this happen. When Congress created this loophole in 1979, it ordered the EPA to conduct a nationwide study of gas and oil waste. 9 years later, President Reagan's EPA finally did the study, then told Congress not to classify these wastes as hazardous and not to regulate them at the federal level. But we tracked down the director of that study, Carla Greathouse, and she told CBS something she had never been allowed to tell Congress: the real recommendations of her report.
The conclusions were that some of the wastes can pose dangers to human health, even if they're managed in accordance with existing regulations.
So that you wanted to end these exemptions?
For certain fractions of the waste, yes.
And the scientists at the EPA were in agreement?
Yes, they were.
And what happened when you move up the ladder at the EPA to the political appointees?
The decision was overturned.
How did you feel?
I was appalled. It's a very difficult pill to swallow. It really is. Especially when you know that there are damages occurring out there that are going to continue to occur if something isn't changed.
Principe last April, hooked up to a portable nebulizer, bloated from taking up to 13 medications at a time, and fighting for every breath. Firefighter Sebastian Responti had fallen into his own private world of pain, too.
I was sleeping only 2 hours a night. I had a rash. I didn't understand why I couldn't recover as much as I used to when I tried to move around and do anything athletically. My lungs were really bad. I had severe headaches, and I didn't know why.
They are two of Osama bin Laden's countless other victims, the rescue and recovery teams who toiled in the tainted earth, the business owners and residents working and living downtown when the EPA's Inspector General would drop a bombshell, that the air wasn't safe to breathe after all.
The chemical mishmash coming out of Ground Zero is probably one of the worst disasters on the face of the earth.
Dr. David Root was getting phone calls from the city's ailing EMTs and firefighters who had heard about his successful occupational medicine practice in Sacramento. Confident he could make a difference here, he helped establish the New York Rescue Workers Detoxification Project, located just steps from Ground Zero. Patients undergo 3-hour treatments 7 days a week, generally lasting between 21 and 30 days. They start off with a daily supplement of niacin, then hit the treadmill to help increase circulation and mobilize fat cells that store toxins.
They get that blood really pumping, and about the time the niacin flush hits them in 20 or 30 minutes, they go into the sauna, and they sweat like stuck pig, so to speak.
A dirty towel or t-shirt afterwards, suggesting a cleaner body.
This is a t-shirt off a young lady who was in the sauna wearing this. She had no lesions on her umbilicus, her belly button, but this material, which you can see very plainly, oozed out.
Be careful to be up one for this. He said it didn't make a difference. He said this stuff burned. It was so hot that it just went straight up. The wind really had no control over it. The fumes just went straight up in the air. But you can imagine how many thousands of tons of toxic waste went into the atmosphere. And what the hell was it when you mix chlorhexidine, methanol, ethylene glycol, and Louisiana light crude together? God only knows what's come out of there. So that was an interesting thing. Dr. Joe's going to lose his home. He's going to lose his home. He's going to lose everything he has. And he's not willing to sacrifice his home and his wife's future security for this. So this is my buddy John, okay? I can assure you that he's not active. Like I said in the original clip, it's 38 minutes or so down there. But we're going to go through this one.
Just feel like the power lines, like I can't hold. So it's like a day-to-day thing, and since it got over, like it gets worse.
You have a speech at your church. Can you tell me why you keep having meetings? This is your fourth one, right?
Right.
And why do you keep doing this?
It seems to me that I'm being lied to a lot by the press, by the government, by all the officials. They tell me that I read the paper, and I read that the oil is gone, the beaches are clean, the food is safe, and I just can't believe any of that. So I don't believe them anymore. I've even stopped reading the paper and stopped watching the news. So I think of what I'm doing here as becoming the media, and I'm trying to get the word out to New Orleans.
Well, I always ask everybody this. I ask, what do you think about what I'm doing? But let me explain to the public why I say that. I want Enbridge and the EPA and BP and these companies say that what I am doing is not helping. Mm-hmm. It doesn't do any good. So I always ask the people, what do you think? Not for an ego trip, but I want these companies to hear from all the individuals if what I am doing is helping. Can you explain?
Well, what you said corresponds very much to what I feel, because I have people also saying that I'm simply muddying the water, making people feel bad. They're having a good time. They want to go eat the seafood. And when I say that I don't, it makes them feel as though I'm spoiling their good time. And I don't like that. I don't like to be the one that throws water on a parade. But I also see sick people, sick children. 2 people I know died, all from, I believe, the poisons in the water and in the air. I see the Humus tribe south of here telling me they're afraid to plant their gardens, and they no longer go fishing. That's their livelihood, and their gardens are their food. I can't look at that and just ignore it.
So what do you think about what I am doing? You saw my videos in New Orleans, where you're at, mm-hmm. from me, of course, from Michigan. Mm-hmm. How did you find out about me?
You know, I don't even really know.
And what do you think about the videos?
I think your videos are some of the best I've seen.
And, well, how do they help? What do you mean?
Well, they put in perspective what all of us are doing. I believe what we're doing is trying to get the people to think about our energy consumption, how we get our energy. Can we really continue doing it this way? In Louisiana, they're talking about fracking now. And I know some responsible people saying this is a great idea. Well, you have shown me what happened when this pipeline burst. That could happen all over South Louisiana. And yes. We've already had so many problems. If we add that to it, it'll be unlivable.
Yep, that's my goal. My goal is for a future spill to help the residents and to actually stop some pipe that they want to build through the United States, because if they put this under a lake and it has one
right.
spill,
right.
one leak,
right.
it's going to kill everything.
Yep.
And it's going to hurt the residents and get in the wells.
And the water will be undrinkable. What can you do? You can't have a city without water.
Nope. And, I mean, what are we going to do 50 years from now when there is no more fresh water? What are we going to do?
I will be dead.
No.
But I don't like thinking about it.
Yeah, none of us like thinking. I'll probably be dead too.
But I don't like thinking about what my daughter will have to go through.
And my grandkids and my kids, yes.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for having me today, and keep up the good work, because you are spreading the word.
Thank you, and you are too, sir.
Could you tell me who you are, please?
Michael Robichaud, my cell number, 985-227-1922.
And what did you think about what I had to say about the Michigan oil spill?
Well, I think it's a sister spill to what we've been experiencing over here in South Louisiana and throughout the country, really, for years. I think y'all are introducing a new equation with this. with these wells that, what's it, fracking that y'all are doing up there, the different procedures that you're using chemicals to get down there and release oil. They don't have to do that in our communities. So even though our oils are toxic, they're not as nearly as toxic as the stuff that you apparently encountered over there. So, but the oil and gas industry, the dishonesty that these people possess and the things that they do that are detrimental to communities is almost beyond belief. And they have no compassion whatsoever. They have no honesty. They have no pride, and they're worried about the bottom line. The bottom line is the bottom line.
How long have you been a doctor?
Since 1971, making 40 years.
Okay. And when I tell you about all the people that had seizures and got sick in my community, is that from the oil? Because the EPA and Enbridge said that it's not, that everybody's okay and there's no long-term effects and don't worry about it.
You just heard my testimony about my patients, and I'm convinced that their problems are from the oil. And I had two people over here that you saw and heard that both had severe seizure problems, and you saw one of my patients actually having seizures that I'd filmed. So my answer to that is that I don't know what's going on in Michigan, but if you're having people having seizure problems and have been exposed to this oil, there's a very good chance that that's what it's caused, really.
All right. Well, I really thank you for going around the country and giving these speeches, and maybe someday you'll be able to make it to Michigan if you have some free time.
I'd love to. Middle of the winter, though. It's got to be in the middle of the winter when it's real cold. I'm serious.
We have lots of that.
I'm serious. Okay.
Well, thank you, sir.
Be glad to. Okay. You're welcome. Bye.
Just show you that all the southern BP stations have been closing down because nobody wants to buy gas from BP. So I'm asking you, please do not go to BP stations in any of the northern states. Support the people in the Gulf. I'm begging you.